a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
While the NBA playoffs continue, most of the teams have moved on to getting ready for next month's draft. Combine is ongoing down in Chicago this week with some of the top players in the country being put through the paces. That includes former Wisconsin guard John Tonje. He was one of the top shooters during yesterday's drills. Things will shift to 5-on-5 today. The draft gets going June 25th with the first round. Second round going to be on the 26th. Most projections have Tonje slated for that day. Turning to the Packers, they're still in phase 2 of their offseason program. That allows for coaches to be on the field and putting players through individual drills. Phase 3 going to allow them to do some 11-on-11 during OTAs. That should allow offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich and the rest of the staff a clearer idea of what he's got in Matthew Golden and Savion Williams at wide receiver, though he says the group overall is in a good place.
The good thing now is we have a good core of older wideouts, and then we got these 2 young guys coming in that are really special. So it's not like they have to start and be the guy at a certain position. We can kind of put them in different places, see where they excel, and kind of move them along from there. But I'm excited about a lot of the different things that we can do.
Meanwhile, the NFL schedule getting released in full later today.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers closed out their 6-game road trip with a 9-5 win over Cleveland today. Rhys Hoskins led the way with 5 RBI, including a 2-run homer. Logan Henderson got the win. Milwaukee off tomorrow, host the Twins starting Friday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Runners go 3-2. Fly ball left center. That is headed towards the gap, and that one's down. 2 more runs will score, and the Brewers had 2 massive runs in the night.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Nice highlight, one of a couple from Rhys Hoskins today. Brewer game was fun. There were moments where it was frustrating too, but that's just kind of how baseball works. You know what I mean? Like, even over the course of a 9-inning game, that my team won. And at the end, they won comfortably. They scored 9 runs. But baseball is a funny sport in that it'll still annoy you throughout. And I think that's why I like it. I think that's why a lot of people like baseball. At least a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of people that I'm friends with. Like, it's the daily struggle. It's this grind of loving a baseball team that, in the case of the Brewers, just so often doesn't love you back. And I know they've won a lot of games. They've won divisions, and we don't need to have a conversation right now about whether or not this era of Brewers baseball is a success or what measures success. But the Brewers have won a lot of games the last couple of years. But then at the end, they lose in the playoffs. Some people have been Brewers fans for 30, 40 years or longer. Never seen a World Series. They haven't even been to a World Series since 1982. Couple NLCSs in the last decade. But I think part of the reason we love baseball is it's this. I don't know. It's being a fan of a baseball team is as much of a daily task, or I don't know. It almost feels sometimes like you're clocking in, and I like it. I like the task of following along with the team every day and going through the ups and downs. But even in a win today, 9-5, there were still moments where I'm like, oh my God, this team's gonna make me pull my hair out of my head. But they did win. Nobody sweeps these Milwaukee Brewers. And if you are watching the live stream on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter at Wisco Grant, that's the name of today's stream. Nobody, and I mean nobody, sweeps these Brewers. They've gotten very good the last couple of weeks at losing the first 2 and then holding on to avoid the sweep and win the series finale. So whatever, I'll take it. It's a lot better than a loss today. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. I hope you're having a great day. Little bit of a de facto Brewers postgame show. We haven't talked a ton of Brewers this week, and I know it's still early. It's still Wednesday. But it's been a lot of Bucks talk, NBA talk, mixed in some Packers drama. And we're going to talk more about the Packers tonight because, at least on the Elgton Jenkins front, there's been some more reporting. Nothing really on Jaden Reed ever since we got that kind of odd, kind of bizarre, and kind of surprising story from Adam Schefter. or a tweet, really. It's not a story, but he reported earlier this week that Drew Rosenhaus and Brian Gutekunst and Jaden Reed had a little bit of a meeting to talk about Jaden Reed's role. And we're like, what's that? I don't think that story is going to give us anything more. But this Elgton Jenkins story, his absence from the offseason program and his desire for a new contract, there's been some additional reporting. So we'll get to that throughout the show, and so much time to take your calls tonight. Jesse Temple had a scheduling conflict this week, and I said, well, you know what, Jesse, there's nothing really going on with the Badgers anyways. So we can either do tomorrow or we can just skip this week too. And he's like, let's just skip. We'd just be kind of rehashing the same things that we talked about last week. We would be rehashing the same things we talked about last week. So more time to talk with you tonight. 608-321-1670. If you'd like to join me, genuinely would love to take your calls. It's the best part of the show. And you can tweet at me at Wisco Grant, comment on the live stream as well. A couple of lessons to be learned from the Milwaukee Brewers today. Number one, the performance of Rhys Hoskins. And I can share his stat line with you. Honestly, some statistical weight to what he did today. It's not a long list of Brewers who have reached base 4 or 5 times, had that many RBIs, not recording outright, like the Kurt Hogues and the Jack Stearns of the world are so good at kind of finding the context for a performance that makes it significant. It was significant to the Brewers because, I mean, my God, he had 5 RBIs today. And at least up until the very end, they needed all of them. And I'll bring you some audio from Rhys Hoskins. I just saw Adam McCalvey tweeting a little interview at his locker afterwards. But Kurt tweeting, Rhys Hoskins becomes the second player in Brewers history to reach base 5 times without making an out, hit a home run, and drive in 5 runs in the same game. The other was Ted Simmons in 1983. So a very significant performance. That's, I think, the focus of today's game is Rhys Hoskins' performance. Because baseball is a weird sport for lots of reasons. And I've talked about this before, but you would think that baseball is this ultimate team sport, right? Like there's 9 guys playing the field. There's a starting pitching staff. There's a relief pitching staff. There's a catcher-pitcher dynamic that's kind of independent from the rest of the thing. And then obviously the offense. So you have the offense, the defense, the starting pitching, the relief pitching, the manager pulling some strings, the catcher and the pitcher making sure that that relationship is working and the right pitches are being called and framed, like a lot of moving parts. And baseball's definitely different than basketball in that, like you look at a basketball game, Giannis can win you a game. Jason Tatum can win you a game. He might have the other night before he got hurt, right? Like one guy can do the thing. Whereas baseball, you would think of as more of an ultimate team sport, kind of the same way that we talk about football, O-line, wide receiver, tight end, running back, play calling, defense, special teams, right? If one of those things comes loose, the rest of it comes crashing down. Baseball is affected more by one player than I think most would think at first glance, right? And today's a really good example why. The Brewers' offense has been helpless for the better part of 2 weeks now. They've been getting shut out. And I gave you some of those stats last night. They've been shut out. I think last night made it 4 times on the season they've been shut out. 3, 4, 5. What's the difference? It's been a lot of times. They've had losses of 11 runs, 9 runs, 10 runs, 8 runs, 8 runs, 10 runs, 8 runs. Right? They've lost 4 in a row twice, 3 in a row 3 separate times. This has been a baseball team that's struggled. And I kind of laid that out for you last night in our conversation about Yelich, which maybe we can revisit today. And add to a little bit after the Brewers won in the series finale. The Brewers would be so much better off. They're 21-23. I'm not saying they'd be 10 games over, but instead of maybe 2 games under, they could be 2 or 3 over if just once in a blue moon you had a guy do what Rhys Hoskins did today. And that doesn't need to be 4 hits and 5 RBIs, but one hot hitter can make all the difference in the world. Even for, a lineup where the other 8 guys aren't exactly crushing it, right? Like one guy who's ripping and one guy who's producing can make way more of a difference than you'd think. Again, because we think of baseball as this ultimate team sport. 9 guys hitting, 9 guys defending, and a guy pitching, and the battery, the starting, the relief. It's a lot of pieces. One guy doing what Rhys Hoskins did today, like that can win you games. That can power you through stretches, through series, can power a winning streak or a streak where a team wins, 6 of 8 or 7 of 9 or 10 of 12 or something like that. 2018 is a great example. You look back at that Brewers team, like that offense was nothing special. It was mostly Christian Yelich the final 2 months of the season, who was just ripping. Like it was a lot of just Christian Yelich. And if you look back at teams who have gone on runs before, or baseball teams that won playoff series or gone on to even win championships, you can often circle one guy. It's like, yep, that was the guy. He was the igniter. He was the guy that produced the runs. He was the guy. That was the guy. And while this Brewers offense may look just desolate, like Yelich isn't good enough, Contreras isn't good enough. Although Contreras had 3 hits today, which is maybe something we can talk about. But Terang has kind of Bowers is Bowers, although he's a nice little stretch here. Monasterio, Isaac Collins, Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durbin. It's like, man, none of these guys are any good. Well, the funny thing is, the big picture of the offense can change quite a bit if just one guy has a stretch. Rhys Hoskins doesn't need to do that the entire season. It would be impossible to do that all season, right? 5 RBI games night after night. But for 1 week, can Churio get really hot? And then maybe the next week, could Yelich get a run of games where he's producing a lot of runs? And then the next week, just a little bit from Contreras. It won't take much for this Brewers offense to just be a little bit better, and it only needs to be a little bit better. Can they just get out of the historically terrible bucket? Can they just get out of there? It's funny. You would think with the way the Brewers offense has struggled, you'd think that they're awful in every single category. And look, they're not great at anything. But they've had runners on base the last couple of nights. In a lot of these losses, when they've struggled to put runs on the board, they've had guys on. They've had opportunities. Not in every game, but that's baseball. There's 162 of them, right? Some games you're just going to suck. And Pat Murphy had a comment in his presser last night that I'm going to go back and find. We can play that to start the next segment. He had a comment in last night's postgame where it's like, look, sometimes things aren't working for you, and there's no use in fighting it. He used an analogy like the wind. Like when the wind is blasting into your face, sometimes the best thing to do is not to fight it and to try to power through, but to just try to hold your own and wait for the storm to pass. And I think that's great advice. When I listen to Pat Murphy talk, I'm like, damn, I really like what he preaches. I like his messaging. I think if the Brewers can just weather this storm on offense a little bit to try to get Yelich to settle in and find anything, the way that Hoskins has been performing has been a true godsend. But if they can find 1 or 2, God willing, 3 other guys who can just take turns pitching in here and there, they're not going to be an amazing team, but they're not going to be this helpless, miserable, no good offense where night to night it's like, man, if they hit 2 balls out of the infield, it feels like a miracle, right? So today is a lesson, Brewers fans. If you can just get 1 or 2 guys to pop and to perform on a night to night basis, and this is a bit of an extreme example because Rhys Hoskins had 5 RBI. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be able to count on that. But on a night to night basis, can you count on one of Hoskins, Yelich, Contreras, Churio? That's 4 guys. It's almost half of your lineup. That's a good sample size. That's a good pool from which to pull. If you can just get one of those guys on a night-to-night basis to give you a little oomph, Spurs team would have a couple more wins. And it's not like they're 10 games below. It's not like they're 8 games out of it. They're 2 games below 500, which I think is probably better than they deserve, considering how they've hit. I got a call coming in, so I'm going to take it. Again, a little bit of a de facto Brewers postgame show anytime they play in the afternoon. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Good evening, Eric. Now, you work from home today? Is that what I heard? You were Eric at home at the home office today? Is that what I heard this morning?
I'm still Eric on I-90, just working in another secret place.
I thought you were going to say, I'm still out on I-90. I still went for a cruise. It's like, Jesus, Eric, do you ever give... Okay, good to hear you're not out on I-90, though.
No, it doesn't feel right, though, but I am in my truck. It just never feels right just calling from not in a vehicle.
Yep.
I feel better about it.
I like that. What's up?
So I got many questions, but I already know the answer, so I'm going to ask the question, and then I'm going to give the answer because I know the answer you're going to give.
Okay.
I'm so confused.
Okay.
Because I'm watching this news about the NFL schedule, and it looks like we're opening up on Monday night against the Chicago Bears, and then they said we were opening up on a Monday night against Detroit Lions. and I am terribly confused because it could be. We could have to play them both on opening night because they gave us 2 games in Europe.
Someone
Right?
messed up. Someone made a mistake and they double scheduled the Vikings, so they actually got to play 2 games that opening weekend. Yeah, wouldn't
2
that be
teams.
something?
We got to play 2 teams at the same time.
So
You're really trying to get the Packers back into it.
I think that's exactly what they're doing. Eric, it's nice to hear from you. So it's scheduled release day today, and I think what Eric was when he said, I think I know what you're gonna say. I've been complaining today, as I do, that schedule release day is one of the more annoying days from a sports radio perspective. Look, if there's something with sports that ignore you, you can just turn off the TV and not pay attention. But I have to engage with the material. I hate schedule release day because the whole schedule is releasing this evening. And yet countless beat reporters and insiders and media people insist on taking all day today to report like one little game here and there. Like, unless you have the whole thing, can you just keep it to yourself? And even if you have the whole thing, keep it to yourself because it's coming out tonight anyways. I hate this brand of journalism where it's like, hey, you're gonna know this soon, but I know a guy, I'll tell you first. Like, well, is the information like, is it pertinent to my safety and health? No, dude, I can just wait. It's fine. No, it's fine. Like, the Packers are going to tell us the schedule tonight at 7. I can just wait. But on days like today, like one insider has this game, and I mean, you got to patchwork it all together. The opening weekend, and then I'll get to one more call. The opening weekend, we have the primetime schedule for the opening weekend. So, Eric, I don't know what you've seen, but this is what I saw, and I trust it. Opening night, that Thursday night game, Dallas and Philly. Friday night, the Peacock game in Brazil, Kansas City and Los Angeles, the Chargers. Sunday night football, Baltimore at Buffalo. And then the Monday night game, from what I've seen, is Minnesota at Chicago, which is my favorite game of the weekend. And I had also seen Packers-Lions week 1, 4:25 at Lambeau Field, which would be great. And a lot of that, I'm 99% sure it's true. It's reported by like Jordan Schultz and, people who are in the know. I just don't need to be in the know. We're going to know later tonight. That's fine. That's an acceptable timetable for me. But Eric, I thought like you guys were starting in Europe or something. I still don't. I'm barely paying attention to the Packers schedule reports today. I'm definitely not going to track down what's going on with the Vikings and maintain that spreadsheet. I'm not going to do that. But I will pay attention to week 1. It's like, all right, what are the biggies? And from what's been reported, Minnesota at Chicago, Monday Night Football to start, or I guess to end week 1. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm all in on that. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, it's Clemhead Mike.
Hey, Clemhead, it's been a little bit. How you been?
It's been a long time. I've been so darn busy. Good. How are you?
Better than I deserve, Mike. I figured you'd just been busy. It's not unlike you to call. I thought maybe I said something to upset you. I'm glad that's not the case.
Never.
Good.
I thought maybe you're mad at me because I got to go to Ted's Pizza so many times and you didn't. But
you told me about that. I am jealous.
Yeah. Well, you're so right, man. I have to agree with you 1,000% about these stupid pundits, these NFL talking heads. They gotta sneak out these little bits of NFL schedule. Like, they gotta scoop each other. They're like little children. I got a secret. I got to tell you. It's like, oh my God, people are grown ups. It's not just kind of sick. And you're right. I mean, it is annoying.
Well, it's needless. So Nick Wright, who's on Fox, I really like him. He did a hit with Cowherd. It was actually on his podcast this weekend, and he had a rant that I thought was really good. It's we've made a little bit of a trade-off in sports journalism where a lot more reporters are focused on getting information first that we're going to learn anyways, instead of getting the information that we would never find out. You know what I mean? Like, journalism, Mike, is supposed to be uncovering secrets and truths and digging up the things that are hidden, right? But this isn't journalism. This is just a race to tweet something. That doesn't do anything for me. It's fine. I got enough to do today. I don't need to know the schedule 4 hours before it's just going to be given to us anyways.
Yeah, you're more grown up than we are. And I got to agree with you about baseball too. Baseball is kind of like our daily job, our daily grind. Our 6 games, it's like going to work. And the Packers are like a special occasion, once a week. And we build up to it and we talk about it. But yeah, Brewers games, baseball, it's like a job, and it does, it does kind of wear you out, especially mid-season.
But that's part of the fun, man. Like, I don't know. There's a certain part, Clemhead, that's a good call. It's nice to hear from you. There's a certain I found things in my life that kind of fit this theme, right? Like I remember growing up, I really loved the idea of doing a book report or a report on something. That was my favorite thing to do in elementary school. I loved, you have to write a report on this book or on this dinosaur or whatever. Like I love the task of digging into something and then like sharing my findings, which I guess makes sense because that's kind of what I do. Watch a game and then talk about it. It's not apples and apples, but it's at least apples and oranges. It's the same neighborhood, right? I think baseball is in that bucket. It's in that same neighborhood where it's like we're going to engage with this material every day and then talk with other people. It's a dumb guy version of a book club, being a baseball fan. I also think like certain types of music scratch the same itch in people's brains. Like Grateful Dead music, it's a project. Like it's a task. You're digging through all this stuff, trying to find the good stuff or trying to find something specific, just mountains of information and mountains of music. And baseball's kind of the same way, right? Like you like the task, you like setting your watch to it every day. And sometimes like I enjoy the process of getting mad and tweeting angry things about the team too. And I know they won today, but still plenty to get us mad. I think the lesson in today's game is, if you could just get one guy's bat to have a great performance every night, it's actually pretty doable, even when the rest of the lineup is so-so. And while we've complained about the Brewers plenty and they're still 2 games under 500, they have a handful of hitters in this lineup who can get it going at any time. Contreras, Yelich, Churio, Hoskins. It's like, well, if you can just get one of those guys on any given night to perform, this mountain is a lot more climbable. Jay Krebs tweets in and says, I just want Yelly and Wild Bill to not suck. But I agree, it's not as bad as fans think it is. You just have to weather the injury storm. The pitching injury storm, sure. There's no star at bat on the shelf right now that they're waiting to come back. So the injury thing, yeah, I think that's true of the pitching staff, although the pitching has been fine. Logan Henderson was actually pretty darn good again today. But there's an idea of weathering the storm. And why don't we talk about that? Because I thought Pat Murphy gave us a really nice comment on that idea last night. And we'll also continue to take your calls. 608-321-1670 to you or more of you. Good way to get us started with Clemhead Mike and Eric on I-90. 2 more calls next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels here. Are your 2 wheels revved up? Because here it comes. The Big River Rally where the river meets the road. It rolls into La Crosse on June 27th and 28th. Join us for a weekend packed with action. Stunt shows, a killer bike show, food trucks, all kinds of awesome vendors. Friday, Rod's River Run with Texas Hippie Coalition lighting up the stage that night. Then Saturday, it's the Big River Rally Ride. Miles and miles of pure freedom. Then Saturday night, Drowning Pool rocks the house. Grab your tickets right now. BigRiverRally.com. That's BigRiverRally.com. And I'll see you there.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Get back to taking your calls here. A couple open phone lines if you want to grab them. 608-321-1670. Brewers win today. So that's where we're starting. We've done a lot of complaining, and I think a lot of that complaining is valid because the way this offense was built. The pitching staff, look, this looks like a Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff. It's a little hodgepodge. Some young guys, some old guys, some guys we're not really sure of their role. But with the way the Brewers manage their pitchers and, find lanes for these guys to succeed, I think as the season goes on, you're like, okay, the starting rotation isn't too bad. This bullpen isn't too bad. Now they can only suffer so many injuries, right? Quintana going down. They had to bring Tobias Myers back up today, which I have questions about. And we'll talk about that after 4:30 after our next break. But I tell you what, through it all, I don't always love Pat Murphy's decision-making as a manager. I think his pitcher management, the bullpen is a little erratic. And sometimes I'm like, well, if that's what you were going to do, then why did you do that? Or if you were going to do this all along, then explain what you did last in it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect. But I tell you what, I listen to him talk, especially now when the team isn't lighting the world on fire. And I'm like, you know what? I still think that's the guy I want leading my baseball team. I still don't really have questions about that. Here's a little bit from last night talking about his team's need for a bit of an awakening to realize, like, okay, so just because this was easy last year, it felt easy, or the year before, just because we won last year, the year before, doesn't mean that we're owed that this year. You still got to go through the work and go through it. Here's a minute or two of Murphy last night.
This isn't easy. Just because I was good last year, I'm now in my second year, or I'm now in my third year. It doesn't just happen. Like you got to reach down and you got to go through this. Same goes for the coaching staff. Same goes for everybody involved. You have to reach down and you have to get through it. And games like you could feel it. Games like this happen. You got to understand that every pitch in that game, 2 outs, nobody on, that pitch matters. And it's 2 outs, nobody on, 0-2 count. That pitch matters. You can't start saying, well, the likelihood of, or, we got this guy coming up, so you got to just stay with it. You can't start playing coach. You can't start playing GM. I can't become the hitting coach. You got to just do your thing, and it kind of reinforces and galvanizes what you really believe in. And, you get through something like this. And by the way, give them credit over there because they're good. Their star player
is correct. And he's talking about the Guardians, and they're a good team. They have a lot of talent. They've been a playoff performer the last couple of years, and a team that's contended and showed well in the AL. A little Belichickian, right? Do your job. Don't worry about who's coming up. Don't worry about the likelihood of this or that. Don't worry about, well, if I don't get it done, this pitch right here, right now. Go all in, focus 100% on that. It's a little Belichickian. And I also think that comment gives us a little bit of a window into previous comments from Murph when he's been like, we're not disciplined. We're not locked in. We're not focused, right? That one fly ball to center field, if you're only 80% focused when that bat hits the ball, like that can be a play that turns the game, especially when your offense isn't scoring. And I think Murphy knows that. He's like, guys, we're not good enough. Our margin of error isn't large enough for us to take pitches off. You know what I mean? For us to take defensive plays off. We can't afford mental lapses. We can't afford mistakes, at least mistakes that are caused by our heads being in the clouds, or mistakes caused by distractions, or mistakes that are caused by thinking, well, so we got a guy on second and I'm up now, but if we look behind, okay, so Contreras is coming. Like that's way too much. That's way too complicated for this team, at least. So I think that's a little bit of a lesson to be learned in Murph's comments as well. And that's another reason I really like Murph, just for the talk show. It's like he's going to give us a good quote, win or lose, or anything going on. Like Murphy's always going to give us some good audio and give us something to think about as Brewers fans. Jared in DeForest texts in 608-321-1670, building on your quote, one guy take, saying like, oh, Rhys Hoskins has a banger day. They scored 9 runs. You know what I mean? Like, they're not that far off. If they can just get one guy on a night-to-night basis to deliver in a couple of spots, it doesn't look nearly so bleak. Jared says, I think if the runners in scoring position batting average is a few points better, we'd be 3 or 4 games over 500. Well, it's funny you say that, Jared, because here's the thing. I remember last year at this time, when was the Orioles series last year? Was that in late May or early June? I remember I was up north. It's funny how certain series and certain games stick in your memory because you were somewhere doing something. I remember listening to the series when we were up north, kind of by kind of up by Iron River, between Birchwood and Iron River. And I was listening to the affiliate out of Iron River, listening to this Brewers series. And this is the series against the Orioles when there was a bench clearing brawl is so dramatic. They never brawl. They barely even shove each other, but the bench is cleared, right? It was a weekend series where the Brewers just lit up the Orioles. And then on Sunday, they had a nice game against Corbin Burns. They lost, right? And I can't remember at what point in the season that was, but I remember listening to those games, coming back, talking about those games on Monday, and pointing out like, hey, Brewers fans, we always complain that the Brewers don't hit with runners in scoring position. They were hitting with runners in scoring position. They were one of the best teams to start last year. Let's say for the first 2 months. They were one of the best teams in baseball last year at hitting and coming through with runners in scoring position. And a little bit of that is luck. A lot of it is skill and focus and good players performing when they need to perform in a big spot. But some of it's luck. You know what I mean? Let's say the Brewers, like, how many hits did the Brewers have today, for example? They had 13 hits, which is obviously a little bit of an outlier for them. Let's say they get 7 hits a night, just for the sake of an easy conversation. When are those 7 hits taking place? You know what I mean? There's a little luck in that. It's not all luck, because I believe that good hitters can raise their level and can lock in and focus and deliver when it's most important. But I don't know that the Brewers have a lot of those guys. You know what I mean? Like, is there Yadier Molina is always the guy that comes to mind. Like, if he's at the plate with 2 outs and they got to have it, by hook or by crook, that always seemed to be a guy that I watched growing up who would find a way to have it. And I don't think the Brewers have a lot of those guys right now. So let's just look at Frelick, Terang, Bowers, Ortiz, Durbin. Yelich hasn't been great. We'll throw him in. Contreras hasn't been great. We'll throw him in. Basically, this whole lineup, other than Rhys Hoskins right now, and most of the season, because Hoskins has been pretty good. Most of this lineup is going to give you the hits when they give you the hits. There's no Yadier Molina in this lineup where it's like, hey, that guy in the biggest moment, I trust him to get a hit, right? These guys are going to get hits randomly over the course of a large sample. Part of batting with runners in scoring position is just luck. You know what I mean? Like, if Caleb Durbin gets 3 at-bats over the course of a game, or 4 at-bats, and there's runners on in 2 of them, but the other 2 at-bats, he gets hits. Okay, well, those are good hits. That's a good performance. A 2 for 4 day for Caleb Durbin is good, but the hits didn't happen when they needed to happen. The hits didn't lead to runs. You know what I mean? That doesn't make Durbin's day that much better or worse, at least statistically. That's a little bit of a distribution thing. That's a little bit of a luck thing. You know what I mean? So runners in scoring position, I think there is skill, and I think the best players know how to get it done in those spots. But some of it is luck. And I think early on last year, the Brewers did have a lot of 2-out runners in scoring position type luck, just the hits distributed in a way that you would hope that they would land. And while they haven't had nearly enough hits, and they're certainly not hitting with nearly enough power, I think they've been a little unlucky in that regard, but that happens. They were lucky last year. So that's a good comment, Jared. I appreciate you texting in. 608-321-1670. Jose Quintana goes on the IL today. They call up Tobias Myers, which is all fine and well. I just have some questions, and I'm a little confused. So let's talk about that next. It's the Wisco Sports Show. We'll get to more of your calls as well. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
We're not playing with a ton of confidence. We're not playing with, we got a bunch of guys just not at their best right now, but you go through that once in a while. And when the wind's blowing, like I've said before, wind's blowing real hard. You can't try to fight it. Sometimes you have to let it play its course. And that doesn't mean we're not doing everything we can, but you can't try to outthink yourself.
That was the Murph quote that I was referencing in our last segment. I couldn't find it. I was digging through his presser last night. I think that's a good analogy. I think this Brewers roster has a lot of limitations. And I think Matt Arnold did a pretty crummy job building this offense and building this lineup. And I tweeted something to that effect the other night. You can follow me at Wisco Grant. And I had a couple people, not surprising at all, who replied, and they're like, well, what do you want him to do? They shed payroll, right? Mark Atanasio's tightened the purse strings on the guy. It's like, look, okay, so he couldn't go out and sign Bregman, which I didn't think was ever going to be in the cards anyways. I thought there were more realistic options. Like Moncada didn't sign for a lot. He's been pretty good this year. He'd really helped the Brewers right now. They've gone from Oliver Dunn and Vinny Capra to Caleb Durbin, who's really not much better. He's a little better, but not much. He doesn't strike out. Okay, that's an improvement. But when the bat hits the ball, it's not like you get positive outcomes. This roster is very limited, and I put a lot of it on Matt Arnold, not because of the team's inability to spend. I factor that into my evaluation of the job that Matt Arnold does. Man, nobody made you trade Corbin Burns for DL Hall and Joey Ortiz. You know what I mean? No one made you. And by the way, maybe Mark Attanasio did make him trade Corbin Burns. He maybe made him trade Devin Williams. I doubt it. I think that made good business sense for the Brewers anyways. My issue is the players that you targeted to get back in return. I think maybe the Brewers' biggest issue right now, other than not really wanting to spend this offseason, which is undoubtedly part of it, but it's a reality that we just have to deal with, so I try not to harp on it because I'd be saying the same thing every single day for the entire season. I think one of the team's biggest issues right now, other than Contreras and Yelich underperforming, is the fact that in the last 2 years, they traded away Corbin Burns and Devin Williams, and none of the pieces they got in return are helping them win. Joey Ortiz is playing shortstop. That's about it. DL Hall has mostly been a zero. Nestor Cortez has mostly been a zero, other than his awful start at Yankee Stadium opening weekend. Caleb Durbin, like Joey Ortiz, plays third base, but that's about all he does. And unlike Joey Ortiz, he doesn't defensively do it at a very high level. And then the Quinn Priester trade. And Quinn Priester has not been bad. He's been fine. But they didn't give up a price that would give you a fine player. They gave up a pile. They gave up Yofri Rodriguez. Fine. Okay, so you're not high on Rodriguez. I don't think the Brewers were, which is probably why they were willing to trade him. But then you also gave up the comp pick, which is something that the Brewers have used to make hay for years and years and years now. That's such an asset to them, their pick that they got with the departure of Willy Adames. And then they also give up a player to be named later who was an exciting young arm. You know who's great with exciting young arms? The Brewers. So just giving up Rodriguez would be one thing. Just giving up a comp pick is another. Giving up all three for Quinn Priester, who's again been fine. But they have fine arms coming out of every orifice at American Family Field. Like, you didn't need another fine arm. I know there's some control, like they have years of control with him, but if he's not any good, who cares? So I am starting to question exactly what's going on with Matt Arnold, just a little bit. The latest example is from today. So Quintana's hurt a little bit worse than they thought. Shocker. We haven't seen that with the story with the Brewers the last couple of years. So Quintana's more hurt than they thought. He's going to do a 15-day stint on the IL. Fine. The corresponding move was to bring up Tobias Myers, which on its face makes sense. But I want to play for you a back and forth that Adam McCalvey tweeted with Matt Arnold on Sunday, asking about the decision to send down Tobias Myers. Okay. When he had been fine, he hadn't been awful. I'm not telling you he'd been great, but none of these pitchers have been great. None of them have been awful for the most part. So why Tobias Myers? Here's a minute and 20 seconds, and the money shot in this, the quote that I want to focus on is about a minute in. So we'll just get a little background. This, again, is Adam McCalvy on Twitter.
What you saw from him the first couple starts?
Yeah, look, he was a little bit inconsistent when we got him back. Showed some flashes of what we saw a little bit last year, but overall, we thought he needed a little bit of a reset. And we have some guys coming back, and so we needed the innings, I think, for the next couple of days. Tobias has been a big part of this. He will continue to be a big part of this, but just in terms of getting guys back, getting innings, also creating a spot here for Brandon Woodruff coming up was an important factor for us as well.
So very reasonable. I would say on the Brandon Woodruff thing, a lot of Brewers fans are talking about Brandon Woodruff like they're getting an ace coming back. I don't know how we can operate that way. Clear the runway, clear the decks for Brandon Woodruff. It's like, well, no. Well, I mean, let's bring him back and get him pitching and see what he can do. But you guys act like, prime Zach Greinke's about to make his return, and that's just not. So that part of it, I understand they need to make a spot for Woodruff. It's more the takes from Brewers fans where it's like, well, Woody's coming back. It's like, okay, the odds are that Woody's probably going to be more of the same of what they already have up here. So that's a side note. We'll let the Brewers beat and Matt Arnold continue.
Based on what he told us about his outing yesterday, I'm guessing he was kind of surprised. Was he? Can you share anything about his reaction?
Yeah, I think so. The money shot, what I want to talk about is in this answer. So listen and see if maybe you can pick out the same thing that jumped out to me on Sunday.
A little bit. I think anytime you inform a guy that he's being optioned, they're going to be disappointed, certainly. And we're all disappointed. I mean, look, he's been a big part of this. And so we all love Tobias and what he's brought to the team. And I think he has a chance just to reset and hopefully help us in the second half.
Did you catch it? Or am I the only one that jumped out to? He said, we'll give him a chance to reset, and he'll have a real chance to help us in the second half.
And what he's brought to the team. And I think he has a chance just to reset and hopefully help us in the second half.
Hopefully help us in the second half. That means post All-Star break. That's what second half means. Now, Arnold could have just been doing a media avail and just giving a boilerplate answer. And maybe that means nothing. I'm not totally sure that the Brewers thought they were bringing him back up soon. Like, I think they were sending him down, and it was going to be a bit. And then Quintana gets hurt, and they're like, okay, never mind, we'll bring him up. It just seems a little conflicting to me. And maybe this is nothing, but I'll tell you what, when McCalvy tweeted that exchange on Sunday, I bookmarked it, and I said, well, that's not nothing. He said the second half. He said Tobias Myers has a chance to help us in the second half. It's May 14th. When's the All-Star game? I actually don't even know. It's July, I think, right? MLB All-Star break 2025. It's going to be, that's 2024. AI has completely, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Okay, so it's July 15th. That is 2 months from now. And if we take his words literally, and Matt Arnold's a pretty sharp guy, I'd like to think that he doesn't just say things to say things. If we take that commentary literally, he's saying he has a chance to be back up here and help us in the second half.
He has a chance just to reset and hopefully help us in the second half.
The second half of the season, that's 2 months away. I don't think they were planning on bringing this guy back up anytime soon. Well, Grant, Quintana got hurt. I know, but if they were that cocksure about sending Myers down and sending him down for a bit, a 40-year-old starter needing a 15-day, like that shouldn't be enough to completely bring the game plan to a screeching halt. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm picking at nothing here. But I noticed that audio on Sunday, and because so much happened yesterday and on Monday, you just never got to it. But I'm like, well, that comment's not nothing.
I think he has a chance just to reset and hopefully help us in the second half.
And now he's back up here 3 days later. When those comments would indicate, yeah, it's going to be 2 months or so. I just question their process a little bit. And the Quinn Priester trade does not make me feel great about their process. The Devin Williams and Corbin Burns trades don't make me feel good about what Matt Arnold's got going on up there. I realize teams have hot and cold streaks. I think Matt Arnold's great. I've been left scratching my head with multiple things over the last 2 years, which is more often than you could normally say for the Brewers front office, which has been pretty darn impeccable for the better part of, well, getting close to a decade now, going all the way back to 2017, 2018. I think they've been pretty sharp, but the last couple things, I'm like, I'm not sure you guys got a grip on it right now over there in Milwaukee. 608-321-1670. Some of your calls, and I actually want to talk a little bit about the schedule release and something that Clem had Mike said about 30 minutes ago when he called in. So we'll wrap up hour number 1 with that.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. I'll admit, maybe I got my tinfoil hat on a little bit. Maybe I'm looking for something where there is nothing. But Matt Arnold said on Sunday when they optioned Tobias Myers, they sent him down. He said, yeah, we're going to give him a chance to reset and hopefully he can help us in the second half. And now he's back up. Because Quintana is hurt, sure. But that would just be such a departure from a process or such a departure from a plan. Say, well, we think the guy's going to be down until July. And then all of a sudden it's 3 days later, May 14th. Vagabond John's on the live stream saying the all-star break in baseball is not even close to the halfway point. I'm not even a baseball guy. I think it's pretty darn close. Basketball's not close at all. I think it's pretty close. Am I wrong? Might not be exact, but it's about 3 months and 3 months, right? I'm not going to count out the days, but you have April, May, June, and then the break, July, August, September. It's put it this way, Vagabond John. It's close enough to be halfway to not derail whatever point I'm trying to make. And I'm not even sure what point I'm trying to make other than I don't really trust what's going on up there in the Brewers front office right now because the Priester trade scares me. Devin Williams and Corbin Burns, those two trades have been complete swings and misses. And now it seemed like they were going to send down Myers for a while. And all of a sudden, Quintana goes on the IL, and they're like, well, the hell with that plan. Let's bring him up. Like, it just seems like they're flying by the seat of their pants just a little bit. We were talking about the schedule release earlier on in the show. I have a real bone to pick with this. I brought it up with Ebo. I hate how it comes out in dribs and drabs. Drives me nuts. It's coming out tonight anyway. I can just wait until 7 tonight. It's fine. The same thing happens in the NBA draft. It was always some member measuring contest between Woj and Shams as to who could spoil the picks first. It's like, do you guys want anybody to watch this on TV? Like, the only reason that this is somewhat compelling television is because we don't know which name is going to get read. And you ruin that by tweeting it out. You know that, right? Just bothered me. So I was ranting about that. And I was talking with Clumhead Mike that we have gone from a society that values journalists who just post things that we're already going to know, except they post them first, rather than digging up information that we wouldn't know. Nick Wright ranted about this on Cowherd's podcast this weekend. Listen to this. I found the timestamp. It's about the 1 hour mark in about an hour, 15-minute podcast.
We have traded, as a sports public, true insiders for instant transactional gratification. We have valued who is going to have this thing that was going to be announced by the team in 90 minutes anyway, first, over what is actual informational journalism, which is, somebody said this, and again, I wish I could quote him, but I can't. Journalism is publishing or uncovering information that otherwise would not get out there.
That's what I prefer.
That's what it is. Like,
that's what I'm more interested in.
This story would remain hidden or fact or whatever it is. Don Van Natta did a lot of that. Like Seth Wickersham. We know the people who've done it in sports. Simply being the first to say this player is signing with this team when that player signing with that team was going to become public knowledge no matter what is a different, I'm not saying it's not journalism, it's a different thing.
And I will editorialize this now. It's not something that I need. You know what I mean? Like, find me the person in the world who would be unable to do their job. They would be unable to put food on the table, or they'd be unable to exist if Schefter didn't tweet a signing X number of hours before the team's going to announce it anyway. You know what I mean? Like, whose life is helped by that? Sure, it's nice to have information. But let's say the Packers sign a free agent and Schefter tweets it on Tuesday afternoon at 11. The Packers maybe announce something Tuesday afternoon at 4. Is that what's that exercise for? Who's that for? Well, Grant, you host a sports show. Don't you want to know? When I know, I know. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to turn on the TV in week 1 and look at, oh, holy balls, did the Packers sign so-and-so? How about that? Like, it's going to come out. We're going to know. I don't need the drips and drabs of the schedule 3 hours when we're just going to get the whole thing anyways. Now, that being said, because we have some of the drips and drabs of the schedule, I guess we'll talk about it. We'll do that after we get Zach's update here in 2 minutes. And there are some really intriguing games. I have some Christmas games, some Thanksgiving games, the week 1 primetime schedule, which is pretty intriguing. Of course it is. It's the NFL. No one's ever looked at the NFL schedule and said, hey, I don't know about this year. I don't know if this is going to be that good. Like, it's the NFL. It's going to kick ass. But we can sink our teeth into that. And the latest on the Elgton Jenkins situation. Demovsky, speaking of reporting information that wouldn't come out otherwise, did the journalism thing. I'll give you some tidbits from his story at ESPN. But first, a wonderful, informative 2-minute update from Zach Heilprin, an excellent journalist in his own right. Hour number 2 coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, after back-to-back shutouts, Milwaukee remembered how to score this afternoon in a 9-5 win in Cleveland to salvage one game of a three-game series. It was a 2-2 game in the sixth inning when the Brewers exploded for 5 runs to take control. Rhys Hoskins accounted for 3 of the runs, a single in the sixth and a 2-run home run in the seventh. He added 2 more RBI in the ninth with a single. 5 RBI, the most for Hoskins in a Milwaukee uniform, matched his most since knocking in 6 with Philadelphia in 2022. The Crew got a good start from Logan Henderson, went 5 innings, allowing a pair of runs on 4 hits, struck out 7, and now has 16 strikeouts in his first 2 MLB appearances, second most in franchise history. 23-year-old also became just the second Brewers pitcher to win his first 2 big league starts. The win left Milwaukee 2-4 on its 6-game road trip. Crew will get Thursday off before facing Minnesota in a weekend series starting on Friday at American Family Field. Meanwhile, before the game, more bad injury news as the team put pitcher Jose Quintana on the 15-day IL with a shoulder injury.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, for the first time in the Matt LaFleur era, the Packers going to be opening the season at home. The full NFL schedule being released today. Leaks have the Packers facing Detroit in Week 1 at Lambeau Field. A Thursday night game against Washington, also at home, follows that. Some of the other highlights include another Thursday night game against Chicago at Lambeau Field in Week 5 and a trip to Detroit Thanksgiving. Again, full schedule being released tonight. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Runners go 3-2. Fly ball left center. That is headed towards the gap, and that one's down. 2 more runs will score, and the Brewers had 2 massive runs in the ninth.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, hour number 2. Any thoughts on the Brewers? More than happy to take your call. Got some open lines, 608-321-1670. Just some questions about the Brewers process. Nothing earth-shattering, but I wonder what their plan was with Tobias Myers. On Sunday, Matt Arnold speaks to the media and says, yeah, we're going to send Tobias down. Got a chance to reset. Hopefully he can help us in the second half. Unless that was a misspeak, unless he aired, that means July. Unless, of course, he meant the second half of this week because he's been called back up, Quintana to the IL. So we're talking about that and a discussion about the importance of just one bat getting it going. Like, look at the difference Rhys Hoskins makes today. 5 RBIs is an extreme example. But when the whole offense is scuffling and it looks like they'll never score again, it's funny, like one guy having a good night can make all the difference. That can power a team. We think of baseball as this ultimate team sport. One guy can only make so much of a difference. Like, actually, one guy can make quite a bit of difference. Assuming the other, guys are occasionally getting on base and doing some little things. Like, yeah, one guy can make all the difference. We got loaded phone lines. So let's rip through them here. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? That's a great way to start a segment. Apologies if the phone dropped you off. Let's just go to line 2. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Tommy in Madison. How we doing?
I'm doing good, Tommy. How about you?
Doing not too bad. My question to your Tobias Myers rant is, when did they figure out that Woodruff wasn't going to be coming back as soon as they thought he was? Was that shortly after Arnold talked on Sunday?
It might. It's a good question. That complicates things too.
2 pictures.
Yeah, that's 2. I just think if you're in the mindset of we need to send this guy down for 2 months, like it needs to be dire for you to break from such a drastic plan. You know what I mean? I don't know about the Woodruff timeline, and I'll pull that up because that's a factor too, and I hadn't considered that.
Did you see Monday, Tuesday versus the Guardians? That's pretty drastic.
Pitching?
What was it? 5 runs and then 2 runs? I can't remember.
Yeah, like I don't know. They were shut out in both games. I'm not really putting on the pitching. The pitching hasn't been perfect, but if you put like even some complementary offense, these pitchers have been more than good enough.
Yeah, I think they're maybe just looking at what they have and realizing that their 7. I don't know. I was listening to Bill today. He was talking about how quickly we could go down to not be able to catch up, and the kind of spewing his doom and gloom about the Brewers season already in May, and maybe they're thinking about some of that stuff too, and saying, are we really going to look back and say we left Tobias Myers down in the minors and didn't take advantage of that when we really needed a pitcher? I don't know. Just some alternative viewpoints here.
No, and those are great alternative viewpoints. Woodruff pitched on Sunday. That was the same day that Arnold talked. So that is an excellent point, and that clarifies things just a little bit. I don't think pitching is dire right now. They have guys. They're not world beaters, and you could say, well, they've lost 3 in a row. Yeah, because they can't score because they've been shut out. So Woodruff and Quintana, yes, makes it make a little bit more sense and maybe force the Brewers to do something they didn't want to do. That isn't something that I considered because Woodruff, and you heard from Matt Arnold from the GM's mouth, Woodruff coming back was part of that discussion and that decision as well. So that's something that I thought an excellent addition to the show, Tommy. Thank you. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
It's Darnell.
Hey, Darnell, what's up?
Hey, great to see the Brewers get back in the win column here today. I got officially blocked on Twitter X for the first time yesterday. I thought that was kind of cool.
By whom?
It was Christian Watson's dad.
Is that because you made fun of his family genetics and his hamstring weaknesses in the Watson family?
Yeah, something along those lines. If you can't make fun of yourself, if you take yourself a little too seriously, you're not going to be happy in life. So I just thought it was kind of funny. I was trying to respond again, and I noticed I wasn't able to, so I checked his profile, and yep, he blocked me. I was like, oh, it's like a little bit of a badge of honor as a Wisconsin sports fan, right?
It is pretty unbelievable how wild he goes on Twitter. Like, he just doesn't stop, and he just yells at fans. It's like, man, that you are either responding to people who are trolling you, or people have the emotional quotient of a 2-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, those are the two groups of people you're fighting with. Neither are worth your time, and both groups are making you look stupid.
And I mean, if your son is an NFL player, right? Wouldn't Twitter comments and stuff like that just be like a little bit below you?
I would think so.
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
That, like maybe Christian has bigger fish to fry than having to tell his dad, like, can you stop responding to this guy with 50 followers on Twitter? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. Like, all right, he thought of that comment that much that he had to block it. Okay, but that's great. But speaking to your one-man show diatribe there, I'm still of the belief that if Jackson Churio can kind of figure out what he had going in the second half last season, that would be enough to keep the Brewers afloat. Just that, because we've seen Rhys Hoskins do this kind of stuff in the past, but it's usually very one-off. Like, we haven't seen him hit like a really solid stretch of baseball yet as a Brewer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing a little bit with the Phillies, but we've seen Jackson Churio go to almost 3 months of all-star caliber play. So if we can get back to that, I would feel a lot better about the Brewers offense. But
look at last season. There's probably stretches, and I'm not going to do the research right on air right now. But you could probably go find weeks where it was Jackson Churio and everybody else. And that was good enough, with the way their bullpen was working and the way that they could, yes, occasionally mix in some bunts and some steals. Yeah, that's a great supplement, but it can't only be that thing. And that's why they haven't been able to score this year.
And just looking at the back part of their lineup, it's still just a black hole on offense. Like, it reminds me of Tyler Wall on the Badgers basketball roster, where every time the ball went to him, the offense just went completely dead, right? And that's what it feels like in that 7, 8, 9. It's like, all right, well, if we had any kind of a rally going, we had runners on base, like, that's automatically just gone.
Yeah.
Because, like, the best Ortiz can do is squeaking a ball past the second baseman, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's very much a up and down. Every day is different from a baseball fan perspective, which is different from the last, 3, 4, 7, 8 years as Brewers fans. So just something we'll probably have to get used to, and hopefully they go on a couple runs this year and make things interesting in the NL Central. At least it's going to be a fun a fun race.
Well,
maybe not fun, but at least it's going to be it's going to be a dogfight from what it looks like.
It'll be some kind of fight. It'll be fun to watch the standings. Darnell, appreciate the call. I don't know that there will be any fun watching this Brewers team. By the way, he's referencing Christian Watson's dad. So Christian Watson quote tweeted somebody talking about Watson, and it wasn't disrespectful. It was just, some Packers fans tweeting, and he quote tweets this guy. I'll read it for you. Look, you MFers, he uses the word, who get on here with this S either have to be the dumbest folks the creator ever created or simply absent of anything close to ethics and morals. You have to just like conscientiousness and drama in your lives. I don't think that's how that word works. Have you not observed who Christian Watson is as a human being and teammate on the team you claim to support? I'll answer that for you. No, because they're random fans on the internet. No, they're not in the locker room. They've never met him. Besides those of you who don't like having a clear and present family support system, all caps now, name even one negative character report or controversy about the young man. Now he goes back to regular font. Now, who exactly do you think raised and nurtured him into that exactly? I don't know why he's fighting. No one's coming at your son's character. So I replied to this tweet. His name is Tazim Wajed. Or Tim Watson when he played for the Packers. He must have changed his name at some point. Or maybe it's an internet name. I don't know. I said, Mr. Wajed, you ever consider putting the phone on the table and going for a walk? I find that to be a very productive exercise. He quote tweeted this. This is about me. This is what Darnell's talking about. So this is why we're talking about it. He replied to me here. The point at which I need the advice of a little boy posting and doing a sports show from his parents' basement will be about the same time when the Bengals get competent folks running their organization. We'll bring the Bengals into it. Why not? Nevertheless, do you consider taking your ass to work during the actual work hours of the day rather than being on social media? Jokes on him. I was driving to work while tweeting. I'm retired, so I can and do whatever the F I want to do. What's your excuse? I would tell you, man, you probably got to get a job. I don't know how old he is, but he's not 70. You got to find something to. You can't just sit at home and be on the internet all day, man. That's not good for anybody. And it's a bummer that he blocked me and Darnell, but it's a bummer that he blocked me because I could engagement farm in his mentions constantly because no one likes him. He's just has these mental episodes online. Nothing against Christian. Doesn't make the guy a bad guy. It just means he uses the internet like a psycho. Just put the phone down. Go for a walk, man. All right, enough of that. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Mike in Eau Claire.
Hey, Mike. You don't find any of this nonsense. This would be a perfect palate cleanser. You are the guy the show needs at this moment in time.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. Put the phone down and go for a walk.
Yeah, we can agree on that much. We can agree on.
Need to do it. You don't need to. That's going above and beyond. Fighting on the internet. I'm a in-person type of guy when it comes to that. But
yeah. If we're gonna fight someone, we're gonna do it with our fists, not with our keyboard.
Exactly. But I totally agree with your Brandon Woodruff analogy or take. As I'm not as excited as everyone else. He was the B guy to Corbin Burns, maybe even the C guy if you like Freddie Peralta more.
Yeah.
So and I watched Corbin Burns lose playoff game after playoff game.
Yeah. He couldn't even take Burns' spot in the rotation. And now off a shoulder injury, we're supposed to believe that this guy's the savior.
Especially coming back after injury, like you just said. But I'm happy to get. I heard Savali is probably coming back soon. It's good to get some guys back, but hitting we need to get some runs across the board. We need to do something. I don't know what can be done. They're not going to go out and get Aaron Judge. So they need,
probably not.
Maybe. But
you're right. Yeah, probably not, Mike.
We need to what we have isn't doing what we should be doing.
Yeah.
We're not towing the ship.
We are not. I couldn't have said it better myself. Here's the silver lining, though, I guess, Mike. Churio's better than his numbers would tell you. So is Yelich. So is Contreras. Okay, well, there's three guys right there over the course. Hoskins been great. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, Hoskins will turn it on. He's already turned it on. But between Churio, Yelich, and Contreras, you have reason to believe at some point this season those guys are going to play a little bit better than this. It might not be enough to play this team into a playoff spot, But I feel pretty confident here on May 14th being like, yeah, at some point, Churio or Yelich or Contreras or a combination of all will play better than this. And as we saw today, you get one guy with a strong performance that can make all the difference in the world.
I feel the same. We're playing 500 ball, which doesn't get you in the playoffs. You need to be a little bit like win every series. I like how you say that.
Yeah.
Win the series. We're not really doing that as much as we should be, but let's start winning get some guys turned on a little bit hotter. And I think I like to, instead of batting Churio lead off, put him in the cleanup.
Oh my God. Enough of Churio. Churio's on bases. He doesn't get on base. That's not his bag. At least not at a clip that would warrant him being in the leadoff spot. Of all of the Murphy things, and there's some bullpen things that bother me, but whatever. I'm not a baseball scientist. I'm not smarter than most people. Sometimes his logic confuses me, but the thing that annoys me most is just hit Turang leadoff and not Churio. Anybody but Churio, really. It doesn't even have to be Turang.
When Yelich was slumping years back, or just shortly ago, they started. This was during Council's time, but they started batting him leadoff, and he started playing better. Just put him in the leadoff spot. See what he can do. I don't know. He's not worthy of it right now, but he wasn't back then either. So just do it. Try something like that. You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you, Mike. I've had enough of Churio in the leadoff spot. It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Because the last two nights is a great example. The first two games of the series, there were guys on base. You know what I mean? Like, not a ton, but it's not like they were getting completely and totally, one hit. There were opportunities, they didn't come through. Well, maybe if Churio is at the plate for some of those opportunities instead of some of these other, with all due to Daz Cameron. With all due. I don't want Churio leading off. Doesn't make any sense. And by the way, we were having a little bit of fun with our Brandon Woodruff talk. I think Brandon Woodruff will be fine. I think he can help this team. But I just want to make sure that we're not expecting him to come back and be this lockdown ace. I think that's unreasonable. It's unfair to him. And the Brewers shouldn't arrange their roster or their future plans based on that. Here, I'll put it this way. Logan Henderson today in his second start all time. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. If Woodruff can come back and give you that, lock it in. I'll take that every single time. Right? I'll take that to the bank. But the point is, it's 5 innings, not 7. And it's 2 earned runs, not 0. It's 4 hits, not 1. 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's pretty effing good. That's excellent. I just want to make sure people have proper expectations for Brandon Woodruff. And they do have injuries at pitching, but I get a little annoyed when I hear Pat Murphy or people, well, the Brewers are really banged up. Yeah, they're missing a lot of pitchers, but pitching ain't the issue. And Savali's coming back. It'd be nice to have an arm. But again, if Savali can give you 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, I'll take it. And that's what they got today from Logan Henderson, who's made 2 starts in the major league, separated by weeks. You know what I mean? Like, they already have that. If Savali can come back and be that, that's great, but they already have that. That's not an improvement on what they already have. Let's take a 3-minute break. We'll come back. More of your phone calls, and I want to get into some of the Packers' latest reporting from Rob Demovsky about Elgton Jenkins. So that's coming up next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Appreciate you listening. Plenty of time to take your calls. The remaining few segments, 608-321-1670. Can text in as well. I want to make sure that no Brewers text sitting in the hopper. Victor in Massachusetts said, do you know why Logan Henderson gets optioned after a terrific start a few weeks ago and waits this long to make a second? At the time, I felt like I would have been able to explain this better or rationalize it better weeks ago when he was first optioned. If you want to argue that they should have been sending Priester down instead or some other guy, yeah. To be honest, Victor, I think it was probably because the Brewers didn't expect Henderson to pitch that well, and they had these larger plans in motion, let's say. And then Logan Henderson pitched great, and they're like, okay, well, we still were kind of planning on doing this other thing. I don't think it was insidious one way or another. I don't think it was indicative of anything. I think it just worked out that way. I know that's a really bad answer. I just think that's the way that it fell. Now moving forward, I don't know. Quintana is hurt down for 15 days, and Woody's on the IL for what? Like he's going to need a couple more weeks now. When I say couple, what, like 3? I'm not sure. It's not like 5 or 6 weeks, but Henderson should have an opportunity to make another start or two. And there's some parallels to Tobias Myers, who, remember, came up early last year, struggled, but they needed him. And then they brought him up presumably for one last start, and then he was awesome. That game in Detroit. And then he just never let go of his spot. So Henderson's going to have another chance, at least 1 or 2 more chances. And if he pitches as great as he did in his debut or as he did today, I don't think they'll send him down again. And the numbers might not necessarily jump off the board at you, but 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, especially the 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 5 innings of work. Yeah, I'll take that. That's pretty darn good. So yesterday, we were talking a little bit about the Packers, and this is something we've been picking out all week. Because Monday, we get audio from Jeff Hafley and Rich Bisaccia and Adam Stenovich, and we were kind of playing with that and kind of picking the highlights and the most interesting comments from all of those media avails. And then on Monday, we get word that Jaden Reed met with Brian Gutekunst, along with his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, to secure his role. I just want to make sure, like, am I still the number 1 guy? And Goody was probably like, yeah, you're still the number 1 guy, whatever you say. Like, I just doubt that was a long, contentious conversation. The question and answer that was probably most interesting was about Elgton Jenkins moving to center. This is Stenovich.
What does Elton think of playing center?
I think he's open to it. The conversation that we've had with him, he's played. He's got a lot of experience there, and he was open to it, excited about it, so ready to go.
That's not why he's not participating so far in the offseason.
No, he's here for not here for other reasons than that.
So, not the question or the answer you'd expect, because as we talked about with Bukowski on Monday, Brian Gutekunst came out at the combine and said, yeah, he's going to be our center. It's not a question. It's not a thing to be open to. That's what the boss hath decreed. You will play center. So we're talking about that a little bit. And yesterday I was kicking around the idea that maybe the Packers have been a little bit too brash at the podium, talking about how we want competition everywhere, and we want to add guys to this room, and we want to try this guy at this guy's position, this other spot where this other guy's been playing. It's like, that's how you operate a football team, I'm aware. And then you get the classic fan response like, well, if you're not willing to compete for your spot, then you don't belong in the NFL. Like, yes, yeah, that too. But from a business standpoint, from a practical standpoint, like, the Packers could probably benefit by being a little higher and a little tighter with how clearly they want to replace some of these guys. Here's Adam Stenovich, question and answer about competition. Just listen to this.
Still want to get Morgan and Elton, give them a chance.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of competition there at both tackle positions. I think we're trying to find who our best five are, however it shakes out. Left tackle, right tackle, obviously right guard position. There's a lot of good competition, and I think the guys we've added, plus just the guys getting older and getting more experience, it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how all this shakes out.
He's almost saying like, yeah, I can't wait to see which one of these crazy bastards wins the spot. Like, show a little respect and deference to Rasheed Walker, Elgton Jenkins. Yes, it's lip service, but you know what, folks? You know this in your jobs, one way or another. Lip service matters. Not just lip service. It's the impression that you give people. It's the way that you make people fear. Here's one more. Adam Stenovich, question and answer about raising the rookie wide receiver workload to save some of the wear and tear on guys like Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs.
With that versatility, Matt made a comment about Reed when we talked to him last about all the hits he took and wanting him to be fresher down the stretch. He obviously didn't have a lot of production. Can Williams take some of that if he's up to the task?
I think both those guys can.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you for jumping in. We got just ask the question.
And yeah, it's kind of like, with the running back, if you got two guys that can carry the load, they definitely, it gives you more juice at the end. So I think that's definitely a case, hopefully, that we can, get going as the season rolls on, that these younger guys can get a little more touches and kind of spread it out.
So again, nothing crazy, but there's real desire. There's real messaging there where it's like, yeah, over the course of the year, we'd love to work in the other guys. Now, you might plan on doing that anyway. Maybe something you don't need to be so excited about at the podium, or something you don't need to advertise so heavily at the podium. So I think maybe that has played a role in Jaden Reed looking around a little bit and like, okay, are you trying to replace me or Elgton Jenkins? Elgton Jenkins is a little bit more understandable. This is the work of one Rob Demovsky today, ESPN.com. Says Elgton Jenkins doesn't necessarily have a problem with moving to center full time, but sources say the two-time Pro Bowl left guard would like the Green Bay Packers to make it more financially stable for him to do so. Now, right away, and I'm gonna remind you what Peter said on Monday. I don't think that Elgton Jenkins is necessarily undercompensated. He's making, I think, already top 3 center money in the NFL. The deal is he has no guaranteed money left on the deal. So the Packers can cut him without much financial penalty at all and save a bunch of money after the season. And I think this is less about give me a big pay raise and more about, as Rob Demovsky writes, financial stability in Green Bay and in his role. Now, he's going to make some more money up front and a signing bonus and, workout bonuses and stuff like that because they'll front load the deal. But I think this is more about financial stability than it is about, like, I need to be much better compensated, because I think he's already compensated pretty well, especially at his position of center. That's the reason he has stayed far away from the offseason workouts, multiple sources told ESPN. Jenkins has 2 years left on a 4-year, $68 million extension that he signed in December of 2022. It was designed to pay him as if he was staying at guard while also remaining competitive if he moved to a higher priced tackle position. It was a little bit of a hybrid contract. I remember that. The average of $17 million would make him among the highest paid centers in the league. See? The problem, however, is that centers typically make far less than the highest paid guards or tackles. So Jenkins' concerns are tied to future earnings, which could be significantly lower as a center. He's under contract through 2026 and is scheduled to make $12.8 million this season and $20 million in 2026 when he will be 30. The Packers almost never adjust contracts with more than 1 year remaining. Perhaps a compromise would be to guarantee some of the remaining $32 million on the deal. The only thing guaranteed was his initial signing bonus, which is very normal for the Packers. They don't guarantee anything after the first year. The move to center came about after the Packers signed free agent Aaron Banks to a 4-year, $77 million contract to play left guard. Since then, the Packers maintained that Jenkins was fine moving to center, something offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich reiterated Monday. And while Demovsky quotes him in the story, I'll just play you the cut.
With that versatility, Matt made a comment about Reed when we talked to him last about.
That's not right. This is the one.
So
Sorry about that.
I don't think of playing center.
I think he's open to it. The conversation that we've had with him, yeah, he's got a lot of experience there, and he was open to it, excited about it, so ready to go.
That's not why he's not participating so far in the offseason.
No, he's here for or not here for other reasons than that.
Brian Gutekunst this offseason, we feel he's got a chance to be an all-pro center. We talked about it a lot, how versatility plays into our offensive line and having guys that can move to different spots. And Elton's one of those guys who play all 5 spots, so he's a luxury. I'm excited to see what he can do at center. Jenkins, who could not be reached for comment, has played every position on the O-line since the Packers picked him in the second round of the 2019 draft. Really as versatile of a lineman as you'll see. Like, truly as a rookie, just one of the most badass guards in football right away. Was kicked out to play tackle. He'd do that a lot in David Bakhtiari's absence. I mean, part of this is flexibility has been necessary on the Packers O-line because Bakhtiari was, who knows? So I think that probably factored into a lot of the movement and a lot of the thought processes of the Packers O-line in the last couple of years of the Rodgers era. It's like, well, we don't know when and if Bakhtiari is going to play. So we need to prioritize a little more versatility. Elgton Jenkins moving around. I think this offseason, they signed Aaron Banks, who's clearly going to play left guard. And they drafted Jordan Morgan, who I think they clearly want to play at tackle. I think maybe they're solidifying their guys into roles in a way that maybe they didn't at the end of the Rodgers era. And I think they're still going to prioritize versatility because that's smart. You should do that because all of a sudden you drafted a guy who you thought was going to play this, but then lo and behold, he's playing this other spot and he's awesome at it. And you don't have opportunities to make those discoveries and have those epiphanies with players if you just draft guys who are uber specific to one spot. You know what I mean? So I think the changing in philosophy in makeup and in player type along the O-line is one of the more understated stories of the Packers offseason so far. The size in Banks, the size in Belton, less athletic, probably a little less versatile. Banks is going to play guard. And I don't know about Belton. He's a massive human being. Maybe he can play right tackle. I don't know. But then where does Zach Tom go? And if Zach Tom moves, is he all of a sudden a guard? Guys are moving around. But I think one of the most understated stories of the Packers offseason is a little bit of a change in philosophy at O-line. And before we move on, I'll play you Peter Bukowski from Monday, kind of talking about the way that he saw the Elgton Jenkins situation and why I think he's got a reasonable gripe with his contract and why the Packers will probably be very reasonable and accommodating, I would assume.
Elgton Jenkins could be a cap casualty next year. It saves the Packers $20 million on the cap to move on from him next year. He's due $18 million in base salary plus $2 million in workout bonuses, et cetera. So it's only, I think it's less than $5 million dead if they move on. Okay, then they go out and they use a second-round pick on Anthony Belton. They want Jordan Morgan to win this left tackle job. But so then what? They don't have a backup plan if Elgton Jenkins is not on this team. If they move on from Elgton Jenkins, there's no one else taking that spot. And Elgton Jenkins, if he's going to play center, I'm sure he's going, you just paid Aaron Banks more money than you paid me last time I was up. I'm obviously better than that guy. So why don't you extend me? And then you don't have to cut me in a year.
That's such a good soundbite. I was playing that as a bumper during Bill's show, and I just love it.
I'm obviously better than that guy.
Hey, Peter, what do you think about Andy Herman and Pack-A-Day?
I'm obviously better than that guy.
Good soundbite. I'm obviously better than that guy. Theater kid Bukowski. I mean, that's good audio.
I'm obviously better than that guy.
It's too much fun. All right, I'll stop. 608-321-1670 if you have thoughts on this. More reporting on Elgton Jenkins. We could even talk a little bit about the NBA as a couple game fives tonight. Or no. Be game 5 tonight. Yeah. Yep, I had it right. I didn't trust myself. With the Pacers, or not the Pacers. I can't get anything right. The Celtics and the Knicks tonight. Should have just said Celtics Knicks. So maybe a thought or two on that. 2 more segments. Wide open phone lines. You won't have to wait, I promise, if you would like to join me. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Big River Rally coming to La Crosse, Wisconsin, June 27th and 28th. Don't miss the excitement on the main stage Friday night. It's Texas Hippie Coalition. And Saturday night, Drowning Pool. Tickets are on sale now. Want more? Follow Big River Rally on social or go to BigRiverRally.com.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. We've hit most of the big ticket items, I think, on the rundown today, other than some of the Packers matchups. The schedule's coming out in little drips and drops, which is annoying as hell, but okay. You're going to give me the content. I guess I will indulge and we can talk about it. The rest of the schedule comes out tonight, which would be fine, but we have to have a member measuring contest on the internet to which insiders can leak games, get their hands on the information ahead of time. 608-321-1670. Let's take a phone call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Denny from Holman.
Denny, good evening.
How are you, sir?
I am well. How about you?
Well, yeah, we're hanging in there. So at least you don't have disgruntled customers like Evo had this morning telling them to shut up and quit talking politics.
Yeah, what did he make a crack about Nancy Pelosi's stock market returns?
Yeah, and then that Qatar, they were going to give them that free jet, that 747.
I mean, I'll take a jet. Someone wants to give me a jet.
I know. But you know what they said? They said it'll take probably millions of dollars to debrief it to make sure it's not full of explosives.
Something like that, or drugs, or stink bombs, or something like that. So, well, the funny thing about that call was whoever called Evo yesterday called and was like, well, I was listening to 1070 and they were talking. So this guy was just not having a good morning because he caught the 60-second stretch of two separate morning shows where they made a political crack. Like that guy had some bad luck.
I know. I understand. So what I wanted to say was I'm not really anticipating a great season for the Brewers. I mean, the third baseman, they play that kind of like committee. Yesterday, they only had 3 hits, and 2 of them was won by Cherry. I had 2, and then the other player was Frank. He had 1.
Yep.
Nobody, and it's just real sad. And then we've got going with the Packers now, and I'm not rating on your parade or anybody else's. But the reality of it is the games I went to last year were not, Love did not look good. You know, he missed wide open people. He missed people that were coming out of the backfield right away that could have made big yards. He missed a big downfield play. You know, and I'm just hoping, I seen they signed another quarterback, and I hope that that's not that they're going to try to get rid of Malik, because I really think they're going to need Malik this year.
I just think they love tinkering with quarterbacks. Like they need a project. They need to be tinkering and working on something in the ground, which is smart. Like if you can strike gold with even a backup quarterback, like it's a good process. There's a lot of value there. Bill asked earlier if I thought that Packers fans are out over their skis and we're expecting too much and our hopes are too high for the season. You seem to think maybe, but that's a Jordan Love thing for you, Denny, huh?
Right. And I got another question I wanted to ask you. What did you think of their schedule supposed to be like 5th hardest in the NFC? You know,
well,
I mean, I thought last year's schedule was pretty easy compared to this year.
Yeah, last year they had the AFC South. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
they got a little luck last year, Denny. That's a good call. They got a little luck. Like they got the Rams when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were out, and like the Niners were devastated by injuries at that point of the year. They got the Dolphins at home in the second half of the year, which is when they stopped playing good. You know, just little things like that. It's not just Denny, I don't know if anyone's ever told you this. It's not just about who you play, but it's also about when you play them. That's why you come here for wisdom like that. The Packers games that I marked down in my little spreadsheet, this is what we know. Week 1, they play the Lions at home. Should be the first time they've opened at Lambeau in, I think, 2018. I think. Game against the Bears. That's what Zach said in his update, right? So I think in 6 years, which is pretty insane. Week 1 versus the Lions at Lambeau. 4:25 game on Fox. Then immediately Thursday night football that week, hosting the Commanders. So they open at home, but 2 very tough opponents. The second of whom will come in on short rest, but both teams will be on short rest. And if you're going to play on Thursday night, let's do it early. I like that. Week 3, I've seen that they go to the Browns. Week 4, to Dallas. Should be very fun. De facto home game. Always kind of feels like a home game down there. A place that they're not intimidated to go play there. In fact, I don't think most teams are intimidated to go play in Dallas. The Packers least of all. I've also seen week 9, they host the Panthers. It's kind of weird which games get leaked. It's like, who is like, I need to know when the Panthers are coming to Lambeau. I need that out there. Week 10, we knew days ago. I think we knew last week. Monday Night Football, they will host the Eagles at Lambeau in week 10. Week 13, that's Thanksgiving. They're going to Detroit, based on what I've seen. I'm not sure what to take with 100% certainty, but let's say 95% sure. They're playing on Thanksgiving against Detroit. Week 15, they're in Denver. Week 16, they will be at the Bears. And then week 18, they're at Minnesota. So a lot of home games early and mid, a lot of road games late. Those are some of the things that I've seen. I've seen Detroit at Minnesota on Christmas Day on Netflix. That's fun. Opening weekend, Minnesota at Chicago, Monday Night Football. The season opener, that Thursday night game. Dallas at Philly. The Brazil game, Kansas City and Los Angeles, the Chargers. And then that Sunday night game of the first weekend is Baltimore at Buffalo, which would be very fun. And man, the NFL is the balls in that they'll like give us games months in advance. We're like, oh God, that's going to be great. You know what I mean? Like, no other sport can do that. A part of it is a scarcity thing. You know what I mean? Like all of these games are movies in and of themselves, where the other sports league, it's like, hey, here's 162 games, here's 80 games. You know, it's almost like you're announcing the runtime of multiple seasons of a show, whereas like all these games are movies in and of themselves. I'm very intrigued. I think we're going to know a lot about this team through the first 2 weeks, right? Hosting the Lions and then hosting the Commanders. They haven't won at Lambeau against the Lions since before Rodgers last year. Would they have done it in 2018? No, I'm thinking of the wrong year. So 2022 was Rodgers last year. 2021, I can't remember. It's been a long time. It's been years. They won at Ford Field last year on Thanksgiving, and the Packers won at US Bank 2 years ago, not last year, although I thought they played pretty well in Ford Field that Thursday night game late last year. They just came out on the losing end of it. Obviously not well enough. I'm not saying they got unlucky, but it's not like they fell on their face. 608-321-1670. I don't have a name with this text. It says, I think it could be Elgton Jenkins being worried about being franchised as a center, be kept around for a year or two and then let go. Well, I mean, franchise tag value is the top 3 average. That's basically what he's making now. So I guess he probably wants his contract to go up. I think it's more security than anything else. And that's what I read in Demovsky's story too. He wrote, sources say the 2-time Pro Bowl left guard would like the Green Bay Packers to make it more financially stable. Which, look, 99% of the language that's used in these things is like, I want more money, give me more money. Okay. But I think it's a little bit more complicated for Jenkins than that. He already makes pretty good center money. His gripe is, well, you're moving me from a very valuable position to a less valuable position, which is going to make me worth less. But he's been making tackle and guard money. Yeah, I bet they'll give him a pay bump. Yeah. Because this whole thing is predicated on him playing center at a high level, which I know he can do. You know, but Banks has to line up to the left side of somebody. And then who's the left tackle, whether it's Rasheed Walker? It's clear that they want Jordan Morgan to try to win one of these spots, and he better at least come close. Otherwise, sports talk radio people like me are going to have red meat for a while. Vagabond John chiming in. The Texans did have Nico Collins. Yeah, you love poking holes in last year's Packers season, which is fine. Like, I think some Packers fans need to bear down a little bit and realize that this year is going to be a little bit different than the last. Like last year, they had some things go their way. They also made some nice plays, like defensively in that Houston game. I'm not casting off last season as I'm not saying it was lucky. I'm saying they got some good breaks. They took advantage. Even in the NFL, you got to take advantage of good breaks. Games don't win themselves in the NFL because, as I'm sure you've heard, it's hard to win in that league. Let's sneak in. We'll sneak in one more phone call here before we take our last break. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner Mark.
Ridge Runner Mark. What's up?
Not much. I just wanted to comment. People are, commenting about the Packers, though. They weren't that good this year. Last year, they're going to be bad next year. I think we all just need to take a step back and realize that the past success does not mean future success, as well as past failure doesn't mean that we're going to suck in the future.
Yeah.
It's just last season was what last season was.
Yep.
And I put a lot of what Jordan Love did or didn't do on one injury that happened early in the year and possibly just messed up his mechanics for the entire year. And, wide receivers weren't getting open, so he was throwing maybe some balls he shouldn't have. They certainly weren't catching everything they could.
Yeah.
So, and he's playing in his third season. Holy cat. His third season professional football. We don't know what we have yet. We don't know he's going to be great. We also don't know that he's going to suck. And everybody just needs to try to remember we had a long run with two different really good quarterbacks. And we can't just put that all on him if that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, I like that. Last year being last year, this year being this year. And I think we got so used to carryover because the product was so stable because it was the same quarterback who played at a high level for such a long time. And it goes back to what the Pat Murphy cut that I played earlier on in the show. When he's like, just because last year was one thing, that doesn't mean we get to start there this year. You know what I mean? Just because we've succeeded in the past, just because this year is this year, to use your phrase, Bridge Runner Mark. I appreciate that. And I also think that means that last year, Packers fans, I don't think they just get to start where they left off last year. I don't think it's, they were in the wild card round last year, so this year they start there and we go from it. No, they're going to have to fight and win some tough ass games against some good teams. But if you're able to do it, I feel better about the outlook of this team because then you're tested. Then you've gone through it a little bit. And the Packers had opportunities to be tested last year. They just didn't fare well in any of those games. They'll have plenty of opportunities this year, more opportunities. It's not just going to be the Lions and the Vikings and the Eagles one time. You got Jaden Daniels, got the Eagles, you got your division teams, of course, but I think Chicago will be better. I'm just looking through what we know of their schedule so far, too, and Bukowski's tweeting it out a little bit. They have Baltimore. They have Cincinnati. They got to go to Dallas. These are legit quarterbacks, the likes of which they didn't see, at least with this frequency last year, let's say. 3 minutes, we'll come back, wrap up the show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Wisco Sports Show. A busy night in my household. Survivor. I think they're to the final 6. Running out of time for somebody to do anything ballsy, so that'd be great tonight. I think our hope rests with Shaheen. I don't think it's going to be Kyle. It's obviously not going to be Eva or Joe. Mitch, I mean, the next time Mitch does something out of character will be the first. So I think it's got to be Shaheen. We'll see. And I think Shaheen is starting to realize that he might make it to the final 3 or 4, but he's not winning unless he does something wild. So maybe Kyle Camilla kind of draft behind him. We'll see. Also, and more importantly for the majority of you, I'd imagine Knicks Celtics tonight starting in just a couple minutes. I would like for the Knicks to win, end the series so we can move on to the conference finals. I think the Pacers will beat the Knicks. And I think the Pacers would beat the Wolves in the finals. I'm not sure that they'd beat the Thunder. Not because I think the Thunder are that much better, but the Pacers eat teams like the Celtics and the Knicks alive. The Celtics and the Knicks are big, long. They switch everything. The Knicks can get away with that against the Celtics because the Celtics stagnated on offense. The Celtics played right into the Knicks' hands with how they can defend them. The Pacers aren't going to do that. That's not how they play. The Pacers are deeper. Now, if Halliburton comes back down to earth, then that changes a little. And I'm not saying I'm expecting him to come back down to earth. I want to know what we can expect from Halliburton night to night. Like, is he just this guy now? Because if he is, I think they can win the title if their path is New York, Minnesota. Not sure about Oklahoma City. It's a little bit of a different beast. And as I predicted the other night, I think Oklahoma City is going to beat Denver. I think if both teams were fresh and it was a first-round series between the Nuggets and the Thunder, I think the Nuggets might win. But this is a second-round series. I think the Nuggets used up some good fortune, some Aaron Gordon, good juju at the end of games, clutch shot making, and the Thunder are just way deeper. So at this moment in time, if the path goes in the West, if the Wolves make the finals, I think the Pacers are winning this thing. I think the Pacers are winning the East. Just took me a couple days to catch up with what Justin was saying last week when we talked to NBA on the show. So tomorrow we'll pick this up. We'll continue to talk about whatever drama's coming out of Green Bay, and we'll build on our Brewers conversations as well. Nice win today. Avoid the sweep. Avoid embarrassment. Further embarrassment. Enjoy.